Hey everybody, I'm Mike Settele, founder of Settele Tutoring, and in this video you're going to watch me take all of Digital Practice SAT number 6 in the Bluebook app. So first things first, do not watch this video if you have not also already taken Digital SAT number 6 in the Bluebook app. I'm going to spoil all the questions for you, and that is a very valuable resource that you do not want to waste. Second, if you are just trying to get little individual explanations for certain questions you got wrong, I will have soon those videos. I'll put the links in the description here once they're ready so that you can individually look at the questions that you missed. What the purpose of this video is to show you how I do the entire process, especially those hard modules where things can go wrong. And I will tell you, I am recording this after I have already finished taking Digital SAT number 6. So spoiler alert, I do not have all the time I need to finish the reading hard module. So you can see how I deal with that, how I respond under the pressure of the time, the choices that I make to maximize the number of points that I get in that time limit. And I did not end up getting a 1600 on this exam. I got close, but I did not get a 1600, and you will see why. So look at my pacing in both of the hard modules. The math is also very tough to finish, but you will see how I respond to the very weird questions that come up. You will always have weird questions on every SAT in every module, and so you can never perfectly predict everything, but you can have good strategies and a good frame of mind to respond to those weird situations and still maximize the points. So without further ado, let's get into the test. And like I said, it's the entire test number 6. So one more warning, do not watch this video if you have not taken that test yourself in the Bluebook app. You will spoil the questions, and that is a waste of your time and your resources. So let's get to it. Me taking practice test number 6, which I have never seen any of the questions before. Here we go. All right, reading module 1. Whether Carmen Lomas Garza is creating small paintings, illustrations, or large public artwork such as Baile, a copper cutout of traditional Mexican dance in the San Francisco International Airport, she is blank direct experience drawing from memories of her childhood in Texas or details of her current surroundings in California. So just repeating this, drawing from memories is using direct experience. She is uncertain about, unbothered by, inspired by direct experience. Yeah, definitely that. Whether she is creating small paintings or public artwork, she is inspired by direct experience, drawing from her memories. Yeah, they're just repeating the definition here. Okay. Disproving the common misconception of native art as blank, the painters whose work appears in the collection of the National Museum of the American Indian employ a range of styles. So it's not it's not single. It's the opposite. There's a range of styles. These are artists working in the traditional arts of their specific tribal communities. Artists working in European modern. Okay. So this is just they're saying it's not undiverse. So disproving the common misconception of native art is it's not about controversy. Individualistic. Okay, they're going to want you to pick this because you're like, oh, if there's not a range of styles, it's one individual style, but that's not what individualistic means. Individualistic means that you are just like self-interested. You're only interested in your own things, but homogeneous is a harder word, or homogeneous. That means it's the same throughout. So that's the opposite of there being diversity. So that's what it is, but they're definitely trying to trick you there. Which choice completes the text? Okay. Recent measurements of the mass of the W boson were notable not only for the mere fact that the particle's mass differed from expectations, but for the blank of that difference. The reason for that difference, the measured mass of the W boson was 7 standard deviations. Oh, for the size of that difference, higher than predicted. The scale of that difference, the size of that difference. Yep. That's why I got to read the whole sentence. You get a little extra something. Birds sing to communicate over potentially great distances. For this reason, many researchers believe that birds in densely vegetated habitats generally sing at lower frequencies than birds living in comparatively sparse habitats, since dense vegetation tends to blank the distance that high-frequency sounds can travel. Okay, so lower frequencies than sparse habitats tends to increase or limit the distance. Okay, hold on. Let's just look at the words. Since dense vegetation tends to exceed the distance that high frequency. No, because the vegetation is not exceeding anything. Exceed means to go beyond, and the vegetation itself is not exceeding. Diminish could make sense. Diminish the distance that high frequency sounds can travel, so they're using low frequency. That's probably it. Dense vegetation to encompass the distance. That means like to encircle or to include. So that doesn't make any sense. And conceal the distance. No, I mean, yeah, if you're in dense vegetation, you can't see that far ahead of you, but it has nothing to do with the sound. So that doesn't make sense. So yeah, I had trouble with the diminish, increase versus decrease there, but that's the only one that even makes sense. Okay. Okay, main purpose of the text. Here we go. Following text is from Betty Smith's 1943 novel, Francie, a young girl, visits the library often. Okay. Francie thought that all the books in the world were in that library, and she had a plan about reading all the books in the world. She was reading a book a day in alphabetical order and not skipping the dry ones. She remembered that the first author had been Abbott. She'd been reading a book a day for a long time now, and she was still in the bees. Already she had read about bees and buffaloes, Bermuda vacations, and Byzantine architecture. For all her enthusiasm, she had to admit that some of the bees had been hard going, but Francie was a reader. So what's the point of the book? She just reads a lot. To illustrate Francie's enjoyment of an unusual topic, well, there's lots of topics, so there's no one unusual topic that they mention. Turn it into a question. What is the unusual topic? I don't know. To explain why Francie prefers reading over other activities, they don't talk about other activities, I don't think, so that doesn't work. To portray Francie's determination to meet a goal. Yeah, the goal, what is the goal? The goal is that she wants to read all the books. C, to describe a book that Francie greatly admires. No, what's the book? They don't say it. So this is a good example. Turn a choice into a question. If you can't answer the question, probably not a good sign for the choice. Underline portion, okay. The people of medieval Europe have traditionally been seen as uninterested in cleanliness and hygiene, but modern research has shown that this is largely a myth. According to historian Eleanor Janega, most medieval towns in Europe had at least one public bathhouse, which often offered both full immersion baths and more affordably steam baths. While such amenities were available mainly to town dwellers, regular bathing in rivers and streams or daily sponge baths at home were common practices throughout medieval Europe. So this is, I guess, a contrast. That's what while does, right? Is it's an exception or a contrast or something like that. It asserts that in medieval Europe, steam baths were more popular in rural areas than in urban ones. No, they're not making that kind of comparison. It describes a limitation of earlier historian studies of medieval Europe. No, that's what they do early in the passage, but it's not at the underlined portion. It concedes that not all people in medieval Europe had access to public bathhouses. Yeah, because they were mainly available to town dwellers. So some people didn't have access to these public bathhouses, because that's what we're talking about in the previous sentence, since we're still talking about. So it's a concession, it's an exception. I think I said that. It explains why Janega decided to study the popularity of public bathhouses. So why did she decide to study them? Because they weren't available to town dwellers? That has nothing to do with that question. So there you go. Main purpose. When classical pianist Martha Argerich performs, it appears as if the music is coming from her spontaneously. She's highly skilled technically, but because of how freely she plays, so spontaneous, free play, and her willingness to take risks, she seems relaxed and natural. Her apparent ease, however, is due to a tremendous amount of preparation. Despite her experience and virtuosity, she never takes for granted that she knows a piece of music. Instead, she approaches music as if encountering it for the first time and tries to understand it anew. So she looks free, but she's actually hardworking, I guess. To provide details about how Argerich identifies which pieces of music she will perform. So how does she identify which pieces? I don't know. Doesn't answer that question, so not a good sign for the choice. To assert that Argerich's performances look effortless because of how, yeah, that's literally what they just said. To discuss the kinds of music Argerich feels most comfortable encountering. So what kinds of music does she feel most comfortable with? Doesn't say. It says that she tries to pretend that she's encountering it for the first time, but doesn't say what types of music she does this with. To describe the unique way that Argerich approaches music she hasn't performed before. Well, no, it does say she's approaching it as if she's encountering it for the first time, but she never takes for granted that she knows a piece. So she does know the piece, so she has performed it before. So B is basically what I said anyway, so just go with that. Okay. How would 2 respond to 1? So I don't know. I like doing these in reverse order here. So let's try it. So 2 says what? Okay, this is question 8. Okay, so 2, the objects uncovered in this cave are intriguing, but it's premature to characterize them as tools. The stone pieces are so roughly shaped that they may have simply fractured from rocks during natural geological activity in the cave. Moreover, their unearthing has thus far not been accompanied by discoveries of other signs of human activity or even traces. So this is just like skepticism about something. So I don't know. Let's see what 1 says. An excavation in this cave has upended the belief that approximately 13,000 years ago, a group known as the Clovis people were the first human inhabitants of North America. More than 200 crude stone tools were found embedded in a layer of earth that is up to 33,150 years old, revealing that humans occupied the cave thousands of years before the Clovis people reached the continent. So cave people, tools. But they're saying, no, that's not what it says. Okay. So by suggesting that it draws a plausible connection between two groups of people but will need to be confirmed with further study, no, because that sounds like it's saying that it's a good conclusion when we know they're skeptical of it. By asserting that it rests on an assumption about the stone pieces that is not sufficiently supported, maybe. By acknowledging that it will most likely be proved correct when the stone pieces undergo, no, again, they're skeptical. By pointing out that it fails to account for evidence that the Clovis people were active on the continent as early, no. I think it's this, but let me just make sure. It rests on an assumption about the stone pieces that is not sufficiently supported, right? Because they're roughly shaped, so that could have just happened naturally. There's no other activity. Yeah, so it's rests on an assumption that I guess it's from people that are earlier, but it's not supported because it turns out it might not be from people at all. I'll come back to this one. I think it's B, but I don't. It's a little too specific of a choice. Okay, main idea of the text. Many literary theorists distinguish between fabula, a narrative's content, and something, a narrative arrangement and presentation of events. In the film The Godfather Part 2, the fabula is the story of the Corleone family, and the Suzette is the presentation of the stories that alternates between two timelines in 1901 and 1958. But literary theorist Mikhail Bakhtin maintained that fabula and Suzette are insufficient to completely describe a narrative. He held that systematic categorizations of artistic phenomena discount the subtle way in which meaning is created by interactions between the artist, the work, and the audience. So I'm going to write this. I'm getting confused by this. So the dumb summary, the main idea here is that F and S not enough. F for fabula, S for this other word I can't pronounce. Literary theorist Mikhail Bakhtin argued that there are important characteristics of narratives that are not fully encompassed by two concepts that other theorists have used. That's like literally what I just said. B, literary theorist, this guy claimed that meaning is not inherent in a narrative, but is created when an audience encounters a narrative, so that narratives are interpreted differently by different people. What? Insufficient. Discount the way, it's not about the audience, right? Discount the way a meaning is created by interactions between the artist, the work, and the audience. The audience is only part of this, is not inherent in a narrative. Meaning is not inherent in a narrative. It's created when an audience encounters a narrative. I don't know. This just seems like really weirdly specific, whereas this one doesn't. Let me just look at the others. The storytelling methods used in The Godfather Part 2 may seem unusually complicated, no, but they can be easily understood when no. Narratives that are told out of chronological order are more difficult, no. Okay, so let me just make sure A is right. I don't think B is right, but literary theorist Mikhail Bakhtin argued that there are important characteristics of narratives that are not fully encompassed by two concepts that other theorists have used to analyze narratives. What are the two concepts? The F and the S thing. Got it. And it's not full because he says they're insufficient to completely describe a narrative. This is literally just what it says. Yeah, I'm confident in that. B just makes no sense. Okay. Let's see if I can just do this with the chart. Data from the table to complete the statement. So, okay, we've got common names of some animals and became extinct in different times. Okay. Passenger pigeon. Oh, I need the sentence here. Okay. Passage of time is among the many obstacles faced by scientists who are pursuing de-extinction efforts. That is, efforts to use breeding or a mixture of cloning and genetic engineering to bring back extinct species. Specifically, researchers are concerned the longer a species has been extinct, the less likely it is that a suitable habitat still exists for that species. Among candidate species for de-extinction, this problem would be especially concerning for. So, for number 10 here, we're talking about old species. Right? Because if they're older, then there's less likely a chance that the habitat is there. Let me shrink this a little bit. Okay. So the passenger pigeon is not old. The saber-toothed cat is old. The woolly mammoth is old. The monk seal, not old. Okay. So, which became extinct several thousand years before What? The woolly mammoth became extinct several thousand years before? No, because 11,000 years ago is before 6,400 years ago. Also, why are we comparing them? It's just B. It's just simple. And and it's true. Okay. Okay. Illustrates the claim. These are ones where the question is in the passage and the passage is in the choices. So just don't let this bother you. In the story, the narrator expresses mixed feelings about her surroundings. This is just positives and negatives. This wallpaper is a kind of sub-pattern in a different shade, a particularly irritating one that's negative, for you can only see it in certain lights and not clearly then. This just seems negative. By moonlight, the moon shines in all night. When there is a moon, I wouldn't know it was the same paper. That has no connotation whatsoever. I'm really getting quite fond of the big room, all but that horrid wallpaper. So fond is positive, horrid is negative. That seems good. The color is repellent, almost revolting, a smoldering, unclean yellow, strangely faded by the slow turning of sunlight. That's all negative. So this is just about dumb summary connotations. Very simple. All right, 18 minutes left. We got plenty of time. Okay, let's just look at this. The only flowering plant species native to Antarctica grow in places where the Earth remains free of ice for much of the year. These people wondered how the warming of Antarctica's climate in recent years had affected these species, so she visited a site in Antarctica, first in 2009 and later in 2018, to count the number of plants growing there. Canone found that the area of land covered by the two species had significantly expanded during the 9-year period. While both species likely benefited from warming temperatures, this Colobanthus, something about it, I don't know, benefited more, something like that, because it's a bigger thing. Here, suppress the growth. Well, this is not true. This Champsia did not cover a smaller area of land in 2018. This is a bigger number than this, so that's not true. Saw a greater expansion than this, increasing the land of its area by more than half. I guess. I don't want to have to do math, but it's definitely a greater expansion. Showed a greater increase in the average size of individual plants, not about the size of the plants. Covered land newly freed from ice at a rate. Oh, it's not about the rate. So this is just misreading what the chart says. This is just the area. So increasing the area of land covered by more than half. So half of 7 is 3.5. So that would be, 10.5. And there you go. Okay, that makes sense. You shouldn't have to do math for these. So that's just, it doesn't matter. It's not about that. Cool. Support the idea advanced by these people. Okay. As media consumption has become increasingly multi-platform and socially mediated, active news acquisition has diminished in favor of an attitude known as news finds me, in which people passively rely on their social networks and ambient media environments for information about current events. These people examined data on a representative group of adults in the United States to determine participants' strength of NFM attitude, political knowledge, and political interest. Although no major election took place sufficiently near the study to identify causality between NFM and voting behavior, they did posit that NFM may reduce voting probability through an indirect effect. Oh my God. Okay. Okay. We need to support that idea. So let's get that idea out because it's barely understandable. So 13. Okay. Their idea, they did posit that NFM may reduce voting probability. So increase in NFM through an indirect effect means something else is happening maybe, then we are reducing voting. Yeah? NFM may reduce voting probability through an indirect, the indirect effect seems weird. Let's just see, I don't know. NFM attitude tends to increase in strength as major elections approach, and people are significantly more likely to vote in major elections than in minor elections. That seems like they're both going up. Increase, more likely to vote. I think I want one to decrease. NFM attitude has a strong negative effect on political knowledge and interest, and there is known to be a strong positive correlation between political knowledge and interest and the likelihood of voting. I don't know. Okay. Political interest is known to have a strong positive effect on likelihood of voting, but shows only a weak positive effect on political knowledge, and NFM attitude shows little correlation with either political knowledge or political interest. Okay, well, NFM shows little correlation with either political knowledge or political interest. So if there's no correlation, then political interest and political knowledge, which should have an effect on voting, then these things aren't connected. So this just feels disconnected. The likelihood of voting increases as political knowledge increases. And the relationship between NFM attitude and political knowledge tends to strengthen as the size of people's social networks increases. Well, did they talk about the size of the network? I don't think so. Let me see if I can prove B, though. NFM attitude is a strong negative effect on political knowledge. So increase in NFM, this is choice B, has a negative effect on political knowledge and interest. And there is known to be a strong positive correlation between political knowledge and interest and likelihood of voting. Okay, so because it's a positive correlation, that doesn't mean that they go up. That just means they go in the same direction. So that means if this is going down, this would also go down. So that feels like the right thing. Has a strong negative effect, meaning negative means that they're opposite. So up, down. So that's a negative effect. But then the positive effect is that they should go in the same direction. There's going to be a strong positive correlation between political knowledge and interest and the likelihood of voting. Okay, I'm satisfied. I'll mark it, but I think I proved it. Which choice most logically completes the text? Okay. In dialects of English spoken in Scotland, the R sound is strongly emphasized when it appears at the end of syllables, as in car, before other consonant sounds, as in bird. English dialects of the upland South, a region stretching from Oklahoma to western Virginia, place similar emphasis on R at the ends of syllables and before other consonant sounds. Historical records show the upland South was colonized largely by people whose ancestors came from Scotland. Thus, linguists has concluded that they brought the accent with them. That's basically what we want. The English dialects spoken in the upland South acquire their emphasis on the R sounds? Yeah. Emphasis on the R sound will eventually spread from English dialects spoken in the upland South to dialects spoken elsewhere? No, we got nothing about elsewhere. The English dialects spoken in Scotland were influenced? No. You think Oklahoma made the Scottish accent? No. People from Scotland abandoned their emphasis in the R? No, because there's a connection. They're saying they both have it, so that's definitely it. Okay. 2016, biological anthropologist Heather F. Smith and her team investigated the evolution of the appendix, an intestinal organ that is present in some mammals, including humans, but is generally thought to have no function. Studying 533 mammal species, the team found that the appendix has emerged independently across multiple lineages in separate instances, and significantly hasn't disappeared after emerging in specifically, oh my god, I'm losing this, has emerged independently across multiple lineages in separate instances, and it significantly hasn't disappeared after emerging in specific lineages. Moreover, the team determined that species with the organ tend to have higher concentrations of lymphoid tissue, which supports immune responses in the cecum, the organ the appendix is attached to. Oh my god, okay. So what they're saying is, okay. So appendix equals lymph, so immunity stuff. That's kind of what they're saying. Okay. Therefore, the team hypothesized that the appendix likely was once present in many non-mammal species. No, we're not talking about non-mammals. Has been preserved in certain mammal species because it benefits their immune system. Okay, that's just linking these two things. Will emerge in greater number of mammal species because it may serve a necessary function in. But will emerge? Why are we talking about the future? We're not predicting evolution, so that seems wrong. I'll leave it in, but produced higher concentrations of lymphoid tissue in mammals in the past. No, it's not comparing the time periods. I don't think. It hasn't disappeared. It is present in some mammals, but it's generally thought to have no function. The appendix has emerged independently, hasn't disappeared. They have the tissue, supports immune responses. Yeah, this is not past versus present. It's just dumb summary. The appendix means immunity. B is saying that. Thank God, grammar. Okay, this is about sentence structure. Harpsichord may look just like a piano, but the difference between the two instruments is easy to hear. When a harpsichord's keys are pressed, the strings inside the instrument are plucked, not struck. There's no pause here. Yeah, when a harpsichord's keys are pressed, there's my thing, here's my sentence, the strings are plucked. That's just a sentence. The strings inside the instrument are plucked. No punctuation necessary. Let's see. Plural, 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 singular. He was just the man for such a place, and it was just the place for such a man. This line is from Frederick Douglass's autobiography. It's an example of antimateria. tabuli, I don't even know how to say that, a writing technique that creates emphasis by repeating a statement in a reversed order. So the technique is the subject that is singular, so we need the singular creates. So it has nothing to do with the tense, and that is why you always check for singulars and plurals when you've got verbs. Okay, this is about the question mark. Technologies such as microphones and inkjet printers are made using piezoelectric materials which generate an internal electric field when pressure is applied to them. The toxic nature of some of these materials recently had a team from the University of Sheffield to investigate how... Okay, it's not a question. How could their use be better regulated? How their use... So it's not a question. How their use could be... How could their use... No, it's this. Oh my God. The toxic nature of some of these materials recently led a team from the University of Sheffield to investigate how their use could be better regulated. How their use... It's not a question, so there's no question mark. How could their use... Yeah, it's B. Oh, God, it just sounds terrible with all the wrong answers. Okay. Future tense. So this is not about singulars and plurals because only one of them, B, has a singular or plural choice. It's singular. So it's probably about the actual tense of the verbs. Each night in Gijón, Spain, a section of the city's marina is bathed in a soft green glow. The source of the glow is this, a large sculpture made up of 3,200 recycled glass bottles. A lamp inside the tree-shaped structure illuminates the green glass. It is this thing. It's just talking about the present tense. Is bathed. This is just present tense. Okay, this is apostrophes and pronouns. French philosopher René Descartes doubted whether he could prove his own existence. Eventually, he found proof in his famous phrase, "I think, therefore I am." The phrase's simplicity, so we need an apostrophe here, and it's not multiple phrases, so it's not a, masks its complexity, because it's one phrase. Its complexity. The phrase's simplicity, yes. How do I only have 7 minutes left? I'm going slow. Fans of the film Moana, this is about, positives maybe. Fans of the film Moana may not know that the deep and humorous voice behind the character Tamatoa the crab belongs to comedian, actor, musician Jermaine Clement. Okay. It's not the colon. There's no need for a big pause there. Voice behind the character Tamatoa the crab. There's no commas necessary. Because if we were to put commas, we would put them around the crab, but we don't have that. The main character. Yeah, the only way that we would use commas is if we had two. We don't have that. So there you go. All right. Okay. Celebrated Tiwa potter Maria Martinez made her signature all-black ceramic vessels using a heating technique called reduction firing. This technique involves smothering the flames surrounding the clay vessel. The vessel takes on a shiny black hue, like something like then or therefore. On the contrary, for example, it's not an example, it's not previous, as a result. Yeah. Okay. In the early 1970s, Albert Papa took up graffiti art, spraying his work onto what was at the time an unconventional surface, concrete. Albert's son David has chosen an unusual canvas for his new art project, Fractured. In this remarkable work, the artist draws charcoal faces onto fragmented ice flows in Finland, creating the visual effect of a face slowly fracturing. So this is like a comparison. So likewise, what was it? The same time, unconventional surface. So similarly, this person also uses unusual canvases. So it's not second, because there's not really a first. It's not a however, because they're both using unusual canvases. Unconventional, unusual. And it's not indeed, because we're not emphasizing the first thing. We're just coming up with a new thing. Now, likewise is almost always wrong, but we're just making a comparison, and that's what likewise does. Okay. Mary Ellen Pleasant, a successful entrepreneur during the Gold Rush era, earned the moniker Mother of Human Rights in California after successfully challenging discrimination in the state. In 1866, she sued a streetcar company for denying her and other black riders service, a suit she eventually won when California Supreme Court declared illegal for carriers to exclude. This seems like an example, specifically, yeah. After successfully challenging discrimination in the state, specifically, this is what she did, right? So this just means for example, so there you go. Okay. The Inca of South America used intricately knotted string devices called quipus to record countable information, like population data and payments. They may have used quipus to record more complex information, like stories and myths, So it's kind of like a continuation. It's not an as a result, because it's not like the simple stuff is causing them to record more complex information. It's not an example like stories and myths, because a story and a myth is not an example of population data and payments. And it's not in other words, because it's a different thing. So it's an addition. They may have used Kipu's. Okay. All right. Student wants to emphasize Janaki Amal's achievement. Okay. By crossbreeding the imported sugarcane species with grasses native to India, Amal succeeded in creating sugarcane hybrids well suited. That sounds like an achievement. In the 1930s, the Imperial Sugarcane Institute, which enlisted Amal, sought to limit dependence on. Oh, no achievement. Amal was enlisted by the Imperial Sugarcane Institute at a time when a local variety of sugarcane. Nope, but doesn't say what she did. As part of efforts to breed a local variety of sugarcane and imported sugarcane species was crossed. Nope, doesn't say anything about the person. So that's definitely it. And supposed to have the salt enables energy storage. How the salt enables energy storage. Scientists have developed a freeze-thaw battery that contains molten salt, which liquefies when heated and solidifies at room temperature. But that doesn't say how it enables energy storage. It just says what it does. So I don't think that's right. Stored energy in a freeze-thaw battery, which contains molten salt, can be used by reheating the battery. Okay. How does it enable energy storage? It has to do with the freezing. I don't know. When the molten salt in a freeze-thaw battery solidifies at room temperature, energy stops flowing and be stored in the battery. That's a how. Molten salt allows a freeze-thaw battery to retain 90% of its charge, but doesn't say how. Okay, let me just make sure. I'm a little nervous about this one. Okay. How does the salt enable energy storage? When it solidifies, energy stops flowing and can be stored. That sounds like a how. Okay, can I do the same thing with B? Molten salt can be used by reheating the battery. So how does it enable storage? Well, see, but this is saying how it's reused, not how it's stored. This is about the storage. That's a hard one. People are going to get that wrong. I'm surprised I only have 2 minutes left here. I thought I had more time. Let's go back. Yeah. I remember this one. This person was skeptical. So cave tools. So how would 2 respond to 1? By asserting that it rests on an assumption about the stone pieces, which is that the assumption is that humans occupied the cave. That is not sufficiently supported. It's not supported because could have just fractured naturally, something like that. Okay, I'm good with that. 13. Oh, this is such a good question. I'm pretty sure about this too. Right, so their idea is that, right, we don't even get to their idea here. They posit NFM may reduce voting probability through an indirect effect. So NFM reduces the vote through something else. NFM added to is a strong negative effect on political knowledge and interest. So increase in NFM is going to decrease knowledge and interest. And there's known to be a strong positive correlation between political knowledge and interest and the likelihood of voting. So meaning they go together. Which would support the idea. That supports it. These match. Yeah. Okay. I feel good about this. I'm surprised that timing was as close as it was for the first reading module. Maybe it was hard. Maybe I was talking more as I was going through than I normally do and giving me explanations for things that I shouldn't have done. But yeah, we'll see. If I made a mistake, it was definitely a Carol's one. I feel good about even those bookmarks. So I think if I made a mistake, it may have been a grammar thing that I just misread or something like that. But I feel good about these. And I'll make a note that I'm going to make a lesson on positive correlations and negative effects. So that way, if you didn't know that, you can use the same strategy I did here. All right, let's take a break, and then I'm going to start the next module. Oh no, wait, pause. All right, this thing really does not let you take a break in between the sections. So if I click this, yeah, we're just right back into it. Okay, hard module, here we come. The War of 1812, yeah, let's do these. Okay, the War of 1812 has blank place in historical memory in Britain, partly because it is overshadowed by the much larger concurrent conflict against Napoleon and France, and partly because it essentially maintained the geopolitical status quo. The country neither gained nor lost, so it has a poor, not enduring, not contentious, Not conspicuous, tenuous. Tenuous means weak, a weak place because it's overshadowed by other things. Yeah, okay. In 1891, design artist William Morris co-founded the Whatever Press, which printed editions of books using pre-industrial methods. Historians argue that Morris's repudiation of industrialization is blank. The Kelmscott edition's use of handmade materials and intricate ornamentation reminiscent of medieval manuscripts exemplified here. That Morris's repudiation of industrialism is exemplified by, manifest in. It just means exemplified. Tough word. Blank the long-standing trend of overemphasizing teenagers and young adults in research on social media use. Scholars have recently begun to expand their focus to include the fastest-growing cohort of social media users, senior citizens. So they're repudiating, exacerbating. No, the long-standing trend. No, because they're expanding it. So not making it worse. Redressing, fixing the trend. Yeah, it's not epitomizing. Precluding means excluding, so that's not right. I think it's redressing. Okay, disputing. Here. The narrator is riding in a taxi down a street lined with food vendors and shoppers in Paris, France. The multitude of Paris seems to be dressed in blue every day, but Sunday, when for the most part they put on unbelievably festive black, here we're now in blue disputing every inch our passage with their wagons, hand trucks, and their bursting baskets carried in an angle steeply self-common in the back. What? Here they were. Those were they put on an unbelievably festive black. Here they were now in blue, disputing every inch our passage with the wagons, hand trucks, their bursting baskets carrying an angle steeply What? I have no idea. The multitude. I mean, it's definitely not this. It's too easy. Arguing about, disapproving of. These are traps. I would assume. Why are they arguing? We have nothing to say that they're arguing, unless they're arguing with the food vendors. I don't know. Disapproving of. Maybe that's it. Asserting possession of. In blue. So they're in blue every day but Sunday. They were put on an unbelievably festive black. Okay, here they were now in blue, so it's not Sunday, I guess. Here they were now in blue. I guess they're just in the way, providing resistance to. Here they were now in blue, disputing, asserting possession of. I really have no clue what this is saying. Disapproving of? Why? There's no disapproval. Our passage with their things are in the way. So I guess that they're resisting it because they're I don't know. I gotta move on. Ugh, I do not like that answer. All right, let's do the grammar. Let's get that out of the way. Okay, logically completes grammar. Okay. So plural, singular, singular, singular. So it's probably that. In August, okay, where's the sentence? Such iconic French recipes described surprisingly detail in this thing epitomize the French recipes, epitomize the Victorian French. So plural, plural. Yeah. Okay, sentence structure. Consider the mechanics of the pinhole camera. Light passes through a small hole, resulting in a focused projected image. A ray diagram reveals how this works. Because the hole's small size restricts light to a single ray, all light passing through the hole can only arrive at a single destination. So it's two sentences. So we need something big here. We can't do this and we can't do this. Its ray diagram reveals how this works. It's because the hole's small size restricts light to a single. We just don't want. Okay. Because the hole size restricts light to a single ray, all light passing through the hole can only arrive at a single destination. Limiting diffraction, ensuring a clear image. I think it's B. This is just unnecessarily wordy. It is because. Why do we need the it is? Okay. Sentence structure. This is one long sentence. Long attributed to this person, the preeminent neoclassical painter of his day. This 1801 painting gained fresh attention in the 1990s when art historians discovered that the painting, which depicts a solitary young woman sketching, was actually the work of a little-known French portrait artist. Oh, it's just a positive here. Where we got we got the definition first. Okay. All right. Sentence structure. Okay. Cal paired excerpts of these conversations with photographs, both of interviewees and the items they described, from hair to grass to sculptures, to powerful effect in her exhibition, The Blind. Oh, whoa, this is hard. Okay, what the heck is going on here? Excerpt of these conversations with photographs, both of interviewees and the items they described, from hair to grass to sculptures. They're describing those things. So we definitely need the other dash, I think, because we're interrupting the sentence. So if she paired the excerpts of these conversations with photographs to powerful effect, that's the sentence. So we want to, these are the items. Oof, tricky. Okay, sentence structure. American abstract artist Richard Serra intends his installations to make passersby keenly aware of how one's movements are affected by the physical features of one's environment, assembles large-scale steel plates into sculptures. Ooh, okay, gotta read the whole thing. So this is the sentence. American abstract artist Richard Serra assembles large-scale steel plates. So we need a comma. Intending his installations to make passersby keenly aware of how one's movements are affected by the physical features of one's environment. Okay, yeah. Okay, we need the comma. Okay, singular, plural, singular, singular. However, in some cases, the toxins the organism uses to protect itself from predation actually increase its attractiveness. The toxins is plural, they increase its attractiveness, so plural works. Okay, transitions. Historians agree that the jazz pianist Jelly Roll Morton was exaggerating when he claimed to have invented jazz music. No one can deny that Morton's innovative compositions and remarkable improvisational skills helped shape jazz. So he was exaggerating, but he was still important. So, though. No one can deny, though, that his... Okay. Biographer Michael Gora notes that the novelist Henry James lived in a world of second thoughts, frequently tinkering with his novels and stories after their initial publication. However, the differences between the 1881 first edition and the 1908 edition of his novel Portrait of a Lady are extreme, even by James's standards. Some critics regard the two editions as two different... This is like an in fact. Perfect. They're emphasizing this other thing. So it's not by contrast because they're agreeing with what they just said. That means the same thing, and it's not in other words. Because it's adding new words. So in fact just means emphasis. Okay. In hindsight, given the ideas about the natural world circulating among British scientists in the 1800s, the theory of natural selection was an obvious next step. It may not have been a coincidence that Charles Darwin and Alfred Wallace arrived at the concept independently. Indeed, contrary to the popular myth of lone genius, theirs is not the first paradigm-shifting theory to have emerged from multiple scholars working in parallel. Okay. This feels like a then. Right? It was an obvious next step, so it's not a coincidence then that they got there. Yeah. In a recent study, researchers examined the sleeping and waking habits of a group of dairy cows. The cow's pattern of activity suggested that the animals were diurnal, nocturnal, or crepuscular. The researchers studied whether the cows were most active in the daytime. This is like in other words. So it's not afterwards, there's no time. It's not however, because they're just reiterating what they said. And it's not additionally, because it's not something additional. It's the same thing. In other words, they studied when they were active, right? So the activity suggests the animals were diurnal. Yeah. In other words, yeah, this is the same thing. Okay. All right. Similarity between P waves and S waves. P waves and S waves are both travel between Earth's surface, causing the ground to move. That sounds like a similarity. P travels away from the earthquake's starting point at a higher rate of speed. Nope, that seems like a difference. Spreading out from the focus of an earthquake, P waves, that's not about the S waves. Although P waves and S waves start at the same point, they behave differently. No, so it's simply that. Okay. Student wants to indicate the California red-legged frog's FWS classification category. So what is the categorization, the category for this frog? Species on the FWS list, which includes the California red-legged frog, are classified as either, but it doesn't say what that category is for that frog. The California red-legged frog appears in the FWS list as a list of at-risk species, but what's its category on the list? According to the FWS, the California red-legged frog is in the endangered category, in danger of extinction throughout most of all its range. That's probably it. Likely to soon become endangered, the red-legged frog is classified as threatened. Ooh, wait a minute. This is unusual that I need to know the facts. Is in the endangered category. Likely soon to become endangered. So what do they say? I never have to do this. is likely to soon become endangered. Okay. Endangered or threatened. The species is in danger throughout most or all of its range is classified as endangered. Species is likely to soon become endangered is classified as threatened. Is likely to soon become endangered. So it's threatened. So it's not in the endangered category. Ooh, that's the first time I've ever seen them do something like that on this test. That's new. The student wants to make a generalization about the materials used in Dow replicas. Generalization of the materials. A traditional material that was used to stitch together the hulls of ancient dhows, coconut palm fiber rope, is still used by shipbuilders. Well, it's not about replicas. The ancient Arab dhow was a sailing vessel used primarily for trade and distinguishable by its nothing about replicas. Although most material used in dhow replicas are traditional, some modern materials are used. Okay. Contemporary shipbuilders in Oman build replicas of the dhow, which was an ancient sailing vessel with a stitched hull construction. Although most materials in dhow are traditional, some, that seems like a generalization, some modern materials are used. Yeah, okay. Seems fine to me. All right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and we got 20 minutes. So 2 per. All right, we're making good time. All right, function of the underlined sentence. On painter William H. Johnson's return to the United States in 1938, after a decade in Europe, his style underwent an abrupt transformation, turning away from landscapes painted in an expressionist style, a style that often involves using fluid, distorted shapes and thick, textured brushstrokes to express the artist's subjective experience of reality. Johnson began painting portraits of Black Americans in a bold new way. Okay. Evocative of African sculpture and American Scandinavian folk art, these portraits feature flat, deliberately oversimplified figures in a vibrant but limited color palette. Ooh, this is weird. So what are they doing here? This is number 5. They're describing his old way. So they're giving description about it, but they are saying he's not doing that anymore. It elaborates on the previous sentence statement about a transitional moment. Okay. I think it does. Provides information about Johnson's travels in support of a claim about his artistic influences. Well, what about his travels? Doesn't say anything about his travels. No about information about his travels. It recounts a moment in Johnson's personal life. What's the moment? No. It presents evidence that calls into question the previous sentence's characterization. No, it says there's an abrupt transformation. This is saying there's the transformation. So that's A, yeah. Underlined portion. Okay. Scholarly accounts of the Chicano movement, a movement that advocated for the social, political, and cultural empowerment of Mexican Americans and reached its zenith in the 1960s and 70s, tend to focus on the most militant, outspoken figures in the movement. So focus. It's about the focus. Making it seem uniformly radical. Geographer Juan Herrera has shown, however, that if we shift our focus toward the way the movement manifested in comparatively low-profile neighborhood institutions and projects, we see participants espousing an array of political orientations and approaches to community activism. So focus, but then we get later that it's wrong. So I don't know if that's going to matter. It presents a trend in scholarship on the Chicano movement that the text claims has been reevaluated by researchers in light of Herrera's work on the movement's participants. Maybe. It identifies an aspect of the Chicano movement that the text implies was overemphasized by scholars due to their own political orientations. I don't think it's about their political orientations. It describes a common approach to studying the Chicano movement that, according to the text, obscures the ideological diversity of the movement's participants. We see present discussing an array of political orientations. Okay, maybe. A common approach to studying the Chicano movement tends to focus. Okay, maybe. Yeah, I don't feel good about this. There we go. It summarizes the conventional method for analyzing the Chicano movement. Well, what's the method? I don't think it's a method. Which the text suggests creates a misleading impression of the effectiveness. Do they talk about their effectiveness? No, it's just their approach. So it's not that. Okay. Presents a trend in scholarship on the Chicano movement. Okay. Describes a common approach to studying the Chicano movement. That sounds the same. That the text claims has been reevaluated by researchers in light of Herrera's work on the movement's participants. Well, it hasn't been reevaluated. It's just this one person reevaluated it. So I don't think it's been reevaluated by others. Describes a common approach to studying the Chicano movement that, according to the text, obscures the ideological diversity of the movement's participants. Make it seem uniform. Yeah, uniform versus array of political orientations. So it obscures. Yes. I'm not going to have time, but I'll come back to it. Why are some critics skeptical of the concept behind Bosco Verticale? Okay. Critics skeptical. Since its completion in 2014, Bosco, a pair of residential towers in Milan covered by vegetation, has become a striking symbol of environmental sustainability and architecture. Stefano intended his design, which features balconies that are home to hundreds of trees, to serve as a model for promoting urban biodiversity. However, the concept has faced skepticism. Okay. Critics note that although the trees used in Bosco were specifically cultivated for the project, it's too early to tell if they can thrive in this unusual setting. Why are they skeptical? Because we don't know if the trees will live. Some essential aspects of Bosco Verticale's design are difficult to adapt. None's not about other locations. The plant life in Bosco ended up being less varied. I don't think so. They're cultivated for this project, but we don't know if they can thrive. It's not about the variety. The construction was no less environmentally damaging than the construction. No, it's not about the construction. It is unclear whether Bosco can support the plant. Yeah, that's literally what it just said. Easy question. Main idea. Okay. Elizabeth has identified a negative correlation between the share of developing countries' economies derived from natural resource extraction and those countries' receipts of foreign investment. Oh my God. Okay. So this is 8, actually. So negative correlation, we keep seeing that in this test. Share of their economies derived from natural resource extraction. So resource extraction, if that increases, then if it's a negative correlation, and those countries' receipts of foreign investment. So foreign investment will decrease because it's a negative correlation. This may appear counterintuitive. Resource extraction requires initial investments at scales best met by multinational corporations, but she notes that natural resource industries' boom-bust cycle can destabilize local currencies and increase developing countries' vulnerability to external shocks, creating levels of uncertainty to which foreign investors are typically averse. So this is counterintuitive. Although it may seem surprising that foreign investment declines in developing countries as natural resource extraction makes up a larger share of those countries' economies, so that seems okay. That decline happens because resource extraction requires initial investments too large. No, it says they can do it. The scale is best met by multiple natural corporations, so that's okay. Although developing countries tend to become less dependent on foreign investment as natural resource industries make up a larger share of their economies, this change may not occur if the boom-bust cycle of those industries destabilizes local currencies or increases countries' vulnerability to... I think this is just copy-pasting a lot of the same words. I don't know. Although one might expect that foreign investment would increase as natural resource extraction makes up a larger share of developing countries' economies. Okay, we did expect that. It's the opposite way. The opposite happens because heavy reliance on natural resources can lead to unattractive... Yeah, I think this is it. Although foreign investors tend to avoid initial investment in natural resource industries in developing countries, foreign investment may increase significantly as those industries stabilize and the risk associated with them decline. It doesn't say that. It's a hard question, but I'm pretty sure it's C. Got to move on. These colleagues would most likely agree with which statement about atmospheric NH3? Okay. Some astronomers searching for extraterrestrial life have proposed that atmospheric NH3 can serve as a biosignature gas, an indication that a planet harbors life. These people evaluated this possibility, finding that on rocky planets, atmospheric NH3 likely couldn't reach detectably high levels in the absence of biological activity. But the team also found that the so-called mini-Neptunes, gas planets smaller than Neptune but with atmospheres similar to Neptune's, atmospheric pressure and temperature can be high enough to produce atmospheric NH3. Okay, so what are they going to agree with? What do these people say? They say that finding on right couldn't reach. So rocky high NH3 equals life, but gassy high NH3 equals nothing. Something like that. Its presence is more likely to indicate that a planet is mini Neptune than that the planet is a rocky planet that could support life. No, I don't think so. Its absence from a planet that's not a mini Neptune. Okay, oh boy. Its absence from a planet that's not a mini Neptune. So its absence from a rocky planet. So no NH3 on a rocky planet equals no life, right? Is that what that's saying? Indicates the planet probably doesn't have life. That seems okay. Let's look at C. It could be treated as a biosignature gas if detected in the atmosphere of a rocky planet, but not if, oh, maybe that's it. Oh, God. It doesn't reliably reach high enough concentrations in the atmosphere of rocky planets or mini Neptunes to be treated. No, because it says that. Okay. On rocky planets, atmospheric NH3 likely couldn't reach detectably high levels in the absence of biological activity, meaning that if it does reach those levels, you have biological activity. Okay. So it doesn't reliably reach high enough concentrations in the atmospheres of rocky planets. Well, no, it's saying that it could. It could do that on the Rockies. Okay. It should be treated as a biosignature gas if detected in the atmosphere of a rocky planet, but not if detected in the atmosphere of a mini Neptune. Oh, that seems like similar. Its absence from a planet that's not a mini Neptune indicates that the planet probably... Okay, oh my God, that's so confusing. Its absence from a planet that's not a mini Neptune. So its absence from a planet... So what they're saying is maybe more like this. Not gassy, not a mini Neptune. No NH3 equals no life. Its absence from a planet, so absence from planets not a mini Neptune, indicates the planet doesn't have life. It should be treated as a biosignature gas if detected in the atmosphere. I'm going to get this wrong, I can tell. Indicate that a planet is a mini Neptune. No. That's definitely wrong. I think it's C just because it's at... Unless it's B because it's just like so tricky. It should be treated as a biosignature gas if detected in the atmosphere of a rocky planet. Right? Because it likely couldn't reach detectably high levels in the absence... So on rocky planet, yeah. Because there's other types of planets besides mini Neptunes and rocky planets. So this is too broad. This is including planets that they didn't mention that we don't know about, I think. Oh, God, how many more questions? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We got 9 minutes. All right, gotta pick it up. It illustrates the claim. In the poem, the speaker describes having contradictory feelings while experiencing the sights and sounds of a spring day. Okay. Through primrose tufts in that sweet bower, the periwinkle trailed its reeds, and 'tis my fate that every flower enjoys the air breeze. That sounds positive. The budding twigs spread out their fan to catch the breezy air, and I must think, do all I can, that there was pleasure there. I'll come back to that one. The birds around me hopped and played, their thoughts I cannot measure, but the least motion which they made, it seemed a thrill of pleasure. I don't think so. I heard 1,000 blended notes while in a grove I sat reclined in the sweet mood when pleasant thoughts bring sad thoughts to the mind. Okay, wait. I heard 1,000 blended notes while in a grove I sat reclined in that sweet mood when pleasant thoughts bring sad thoughts to the mind. Pleasant thoughts, sad thoughts. Yeah, unless it's this. This seems negative though. There's no pleasure, and he's kind of thinking about it. It seemed, this is me stretching it. Yeah, let's go with D. Okay. Support their conclusion. All right. They studied a forest site in which some sugar maple trees received periodic fertilization with nitrogen to mimic the broader trend of increasing anthropogenic nitrogen deposition in soil. And Banyas and colleagues modeled the radial growth of the trees with and without nitrogen. Okay. Fertilization under 3 different climate scenarios: current, moderate, extreme. Although they found that climate change would negatively affect growth, they concluded that anthropogenic nitrogen deposition would more than offset the effect, provided that change is moderate rather than extreme. Okay. Oh my God. Okay. So growth with nitrogen under the current climate exceeded growth with nitrogen under moderate change, but the latter exceeded growth without nitrogen under extreme change. I guess that's true. Growth without nitrogen under the current climate, exceeded growth without nitrogen under moderate change, but the latter exceeded growth with nitrogen. I mean, this is true too. Growth with nitrogen under moderate change. growth with nitrogen under moderate change exceeded growth without nitrogen under moderate change, but the latter exceeded growth without nitrogen under extreme change. Oh my God, these are all the same. Growth with nitrogen under moderate change exceeded growth without nitrogen under the current climate. That's true too. But the latter exceeded growth with nitrogen. Yeah, these are all the same. Oh my God. Okay, so dumb summary this. This is hard. Oh no, we're going to run out of time. 11. Although they found that climate change would negatively affect growth, so change bad, they concluded anthropogenic nitrogen deposition to mimic the broader trend of increasing anthropogenic nitrogen. Okay, so with nitrogen equals that. So could more than offset that effect provided that change is moderate rather than extreme? What? I have no idea what this is saying. We got to move on. I'm going to have to guess on this. I have no idea what this is saying. Support the researchers' hypothesis. Under normal atmospheric pressure, Earth's surface, water molecules from a tetrahedral network stabilized by hydrogen bonds between adjacent molecules. Extreme high pressure, such as can be found in deep ocean waters, destabilizes these bonds and compresses water's structure, allowing molecules with organisms to permeate proteins and impede crucial biological functions. Yet deep sea organisms, known as whatever, have adapted to extreme pressure. Studies have found that a positive correlation between the depths that various these things inhabit and concentrations of a compound called this in their muscle tissues, which has led a team of researchers to hypothesize that, TMO reduces water compressibility. Oh my God. Okay. So TMAO, an increase in TMAO will decrease compressibility. Okay. And why is that? A positive correlation between the depth that various things inhabit and the concentrations of a compound in their muscle tissues. Okay. Ugh. Extreme high pressure, such as can be found in deep ocean water. Okay, stable. Okay. Oh my God, I don't understand this either. Under normal atmospheric pressure, Earth's surface, water molecules from a tetrahedral network stabilized by hydrogen bonds between adjacent molecules. Extreme high pressure, such as can be found in deep ocean waters, destabilizes the bonds. So increase the pressure, you decrease the bonds. Okay. And compresses the water structure and leads and increases compression. Okay. Allowing water molecules within organisms to permeate proteins and impede crucial, so this is bad. Yet deep sea organisms known as these things have adapted to extreme pressure. Studies have found a positive correlation between the depths that various things inhabit. So an increase in depth means and concentration of a compound, so increase in the compound. In the TMO, in TMAO, oh my God, my handwriting, in their muscle tissue, which has led to, that TMO reduces the, maybe water molecules are found to be impervious to TMAO, even when the water molecule's tetrahedral configuration is distorted by high pressure. So TMO decreases. Well, examination of TMO's molecular structure shows that TMO molecules retain their shape even as pressure increases. A positive correlation is found between concentration of TMO and the rate at which, so we have to support their hypothesis. Is found between concentrations of TMAO and the rate at which water's molecular structure compresses as pressure increases. Is found between concentrations of TMAO and the rate at which water's analysis of water's molecular structure under high pressure reveals that hydrogen bonds are more stable. I'm lost. 2 minutes. All right. Oh my God. I'm going to have to guess on 4 questions. Conclude that concentration of precipitate into fewer events would result in higher number of dry days. Okay. What does 14 look like? This is tough choices here. Compared the feeding behaviors of wild lions in Tanzania with those of captive lions. The researchers noted that previous studies focused on other carnivores have shown that providing animals with food at regular intervals, as in common in captive settings, may inadvertently facilitate the development of novel stereotypic behaviors by reducing the need for a high degree of cognitive engagement with the environment. Therefore, not altogether surprised to find that it's about the captive versus the other ones. Okay, bones from carcasses provided by captive lions show the signs of extensive gnawing beyond the point of nutrient extraction. Yeah, okay, because they're dumb. During feeding episodes, captive male lions showed much more aggression than wild male lions. And it's not about male versus female, whereas caretakers place food in boxes that were kindly demanded to open. Captive lions showed repeated behavior. Some of those at wild lions. Okay, maybe. Captive lions showed a stereotypic behavior of pacing in their enclosures as feeding times approached, whereas wild lions showed a stereotypic behavior of pacing before embarking on a hunt. I don't think it's the time. Facilitated by reducing the need for a high degree of cognitive engagement. Okay. Previous studies focused on other carnivores have shown that providing animals with food at regular intervals may inadvertently facilitate the novel, purposely repetitive behaviors. So it's repetitive. That were kind of lions showed repeated behavior. Some of those wild lions showed when stalking prey. Well, previous studies focused on other carnivores and really facilitate those. Researchers were therefore not altogether surprised that when characters food in boxes that were commonly demanding to open, the camel lion showed no, they don't. Camel lion showed signs of extensive gnawing. Yeah, I guess that's it. I gotta just guess on these other ones. Yeah, B, and I guess I'll bookmark them all, but there's no way I'm gonna have any time. I guess I got a couple seconds. I don't even know. Let's do this one maybe. The shape. I don't think it's about the shape. So maybe impervious sounds strong. That sounds like some of the stuff I wrote. Is kind of all I'm going for. Wow, that was tough. That was really tough. So we'll see what that does to my score, but I guess I'm going to get a couple wrong. Let's take a break, and then we'll try the math. But yeah, I think that was 3 questions I was basically guessing on. So the pacing matters. I don't know that I could have gone much faster, but it's a tight squeeze. All right, so I'm ready to get into the math. My brain is totally fried from that reading. So one good thing about the math is that first module is pretty easy, so you can kind of recuperate a bit. But normally during the test, take your full break, go to the bathroom, all that stuff. I'm superhuman, I guess. So let's just get to it. All right. Okay, certain bird species can fly at an average speed of 16 meters per second when in continuous flight. At this rate, how many meters would this bird species fly in 4 seconds? So that's just 16 times 4, 64, right? Just make sure. 16 meters per 1 second is X meters in 4 seconds, so times 4, so times 4, 64. Yep. Line R in the xy plane is the slope of 4 and passes to the point 0, 6. What equation defines it? So let's just plug points into equations here. So 0 is going to knock out all the x's. So not this, not this. That's negative 6. And slope of 4. Yeah, looks good. Which expression is equivalent to that? So this is a factoring question. So you got to pull out an x to the third is the most you're going to be able to pull out here. So that's not this, not this. And there's no reason we could pull out an 8. So, yeah, x to the third, that'd be 5x to the fifth, minus 6x to the fourth, plus 8x to the third. Yep. The equation x plus y equals 1440 represents the number of minutes of daylight between sunrise and sunset, x, and the number of minutes. The equation x plus y equals 1440 represents the number of minutes of daylight, x, and the number of minutes of non-daylight, y, on a particular day. If this day has 670 minutes of daylight, how many minutes of non-daylight does? Okay, well, even if you misread this, there's not really much you can do here. So minutes of daylight is x, so that's 670 plus y equals 1440. So we're going to subtract. So 1440, using the regular calculator here, minus 670 is 770. Okay. Cool. Scott selected 20 employees at random from all 400 employees at a company. He found that 16 of the employees in the sample are enrolled in exactly 3 professional development courses this year. Based on Scott's findings, which of the following is the best estimate of the number of employees at the company who are enrolled? This is just a ratio. Let's just make sure we do it right. Okay. So 16 enrolled out of 20 total. 400 total. And we want to know how many the company are enrolled. Yeah, X enrolled. Yeah. So 20X equals 16 times 400. 6,400. Divided by 20. 320. Cool. Okay. I could have just guessed and checked, I guess. It's fine, though. All right. Which equation is the same solution? Okay, so let's just let Desmos do it. 7 times 2x minus 3 is 63. So my solution is 6. So 2 times 6 is 12. 12 minus 3 is 9. 2 times 6 is 12 minus 3. Nope. 2 times 6 is 12. 12 minus that. Nope. 2 times 6 is 12 minus 21. Nope. Okay, right? So that's 2x minus 3 equals 9 because you're just dividing by 7. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. The given equation relates to positive things. Which equation correctly expresses C in terms of P and K? Well, we would just add 7 to both sides. So 25 plus, yeah, K plus 7, okay. Function P estimates that there are 2,000 animals in population. For each year, the function estimates that the number of animals in the population increased by 3% of the number of animals in the population the previous year. Which equation defines this? Okay, so starting out, 0 is my x, and 2,000 would be, says plug points into equations, but that isn't going to get me anywhere because that works for everyone. So an increase of 3%. So it's not this, and it's got to be, well, let's just use the open formula here. So it's going to be C, I believe. C, so this is 8, so that's 0, 1 plus or minus p to the t equals n. So 2,000 is my original. 1 plus 0.03 to the, in this case, x is your p of x. So 1.03. Yeah. Right? Increased by 3. Okay. Okay. Which expression is equivalent? Let's just use Desmos. My brain is fried from the reading. Let's just do it. So we've got x squared plus 11 squared plus x minus 5, x plus 5. So we get some, what is with this? My Desmos, this is happening on the other one too. A lot of glitching. So what's the point of using Desmos or having Desmos if it's going to freak out all the time? Where was it? Okay, it's up here. So x to the 4th plus 23x squared minus 14. Nope. X to the 4th plus 23x squared plus 96. That's pretty good. Let's just do another line. So x to the 4th plus 12x squared plus 121. That looks different. I could have just arithmetized here. And x to the 4th plus x squared plus 146. Also looks different. So that looks good, I guess. Can I zoom in? See, one benefit of the tablet is you can zoom in. Okay. Kind of do this. Okay. There we go. I'm holding shift and it's letting me do that. Yeah, those are the same, just overlapping. So there you go. I'll come back to this one if I got time. I could probably just do the algebra here. An egg is thrown from a rooftop. The equation is that represents the situation where h is the height of the egg above the ground. According to the equation, what is the height from which the egg was thrown? So they're asking with the y-intercept, the starting point. So that's just 18. Plug in 0 for x or for t if you need, and then you're just done. But if you know how to read a quadratic, you're good to go. What is the value of 6x? So let's just do this by hand. Desmos was giving me trouble before. So 11 is 4 root 2x equals 16. So divide by 4, radical 2x equals 4. So square both sides. So 2x equals 16. So x is 8. So 6x equals 48. Doesn't make sense. So if 6x is 48, then x is 8. 2 times 8 is 16. Square root of 16 is 4. 4 times 4 is 16. Yep. The relationship between two variables, x and y, is linear. For every increase in the value of x by 1, the value of y increases by 8. When the value of x is 2, the value of y is 18. Which function? Okay, this is just to plug points into equations. Don't let the weird wording get you. So when a value of x is 2, the value of y is 18. So 2 times 2 is 4 plus 18, not 18. 2 times 2 is 4 plus 8, 12. 8 times 2 is 16 plus 2, that's 18. 3 times 2 is 6 plus 26, no. So plug points in equations, makes it really easy. How many distinct real zeros does this equation have? Well, I could put this in Desmos, but there's no way to square something and get a negative. So it has 0 solutions. So no way to do it. Two box plots show the distribution of number of books read over the summer by the students in 2 different English classes. What is the positive difference between the range of number of books read over the summer for the 2 classes? Okay, so let's just write this down. A lot of information moving around. So the range for the top for class A is 5 to 5 minus 0. So that's 5. And B is 10 minus 1. So that's 9. So what do they want the difference? Positive difference is 4. Okay, the length of the edge of the base of a right square prism is 6 units. The volume of the prism is that. Okay. So 15. The length of the edge of the base of a right square prism is 6 units. So the volume of a prism is length times width times height. So 2880, right square prism is 6. So 2, that means 2 of the things have to be 6. What is the height? So this is 36h, so divide by 36, divide by 36. 2880 divided by 36 is 80. Okay. I don't know why these are scaring me. Why are these so weird? The length of the edge of the base of a right square prism, the volume of the prism, length times width times height. I don't know. Come back, but I don't think they're just trying to intimidate me. Scatter plot shows a relationship. An equation for the exponential model shown can be written as y equals a times b to the x, where a and b are positive constants, which the following is closest to the value of b. Okay, well, a is your y-intercept. So let's just plug points into equations here. So we've got y equals, the y-intercept looks like 125. And we can plug in 0 if we needed to check, but that's what it's going to be. So 125b to the x. Let's just pick another point that looks decent. How about down here, 1410? So, yeah, 10 is the y. 125b to the 14th. Ugh, this is dumb. Just do 1. So what is x is 1? That looks like 105. Yep, so 105 equals 125b to the first. So just divide by 125. 105 divided by 125 is 0.84. So that looks right. I could come back. There's things I can do at Desmos to prove this, but let's just keep moving. What is the value of cosine of x? Cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse. So isn't that just 11 over 28? Cosine, right? Let's just make sure I'm doing that right. 17. So TOA. So cosine of x is adjacent, so that's 11 over hypotenuse, 28. Yeah. What is a positive solution? So -2, 5, and -9. They're just asking for the factors there. So 5. Cool. Okay, in the figure shown, these things intersect. If YQ is 63 and QWQ is 70, WX is 60, and XQ is 120. Okay, these are similar triangles. All right, let's just draw this stupid thing. So we got like a little bow tie here. Boom, 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 boom. Okay. So they're similar in that this angle and this angle are the same. So these sides correspond. So YQ, so YZ, Q, WX, YQ is 63. So that's here. WQ is 70. So that's here. WX is 60. 60. And XQ is 120. What is the length of YZ? So YZ, right here. So YZ is going to match up with XW, so that's 60. Then they're trying to confuse me, but because of similar triangles, the 120 matches with this other side I don't know about. So it's these two sides I care about. So 63 is on top because I'm on the right triangle, and then 70 is here. So 70 times YZ is equal to 60 times 63, which is 3780. Divide by 70, and YZ is 54. All right. The function g is defined by that, where t is a constant. In the xy plane, the graph of y equals g of x passes through the point 24, 0. This sounds like plug points in equations. We got points, we got equations. Let's just see what happens when we plug them in. So 24, 0 is my point. So that means 0 is my y. And 24 plus 14 times t minus 24 is equal to 0. So that means t, this doesn't matter, so we need this to equal 0 here. So t has to equal 24. So now we have g of 0, and we have the full equation is x plus 14 times 24 minus x. So g of 0 is 0 plus 14, which is 14, times 24 minus 0, which is 24. So 14 times 24 is 336. Cool. The number of zebras in a population in 2018 was 1.27 times the number of zebras in this population in 2014. If the number of zebras in this population in 2014 is p% of the number of zebras in this population in 2018, what is the value of p to the nearest whole number? Okay, arithmetize. They never told me how many zebras. So let's make up a number, right? So 2014 is my starting point. Let's say that there are 100 zebras, okay? So that means 2018 is 1.27 times 100, which is 127 zebras, right? Number of zebras in 2018 was 1.27 times the number of zebras in 2014. So far so good. If the number of zebras in this population in 2014 is p% of the number of zebras in this population in 2018, what is the value of p? Okay, this is confusing. I think I need the open formula that's just the normal one because it's of, percent of, not percent increase, not in percent decrease, just percent of. So 2014 is p% of. So the of tells me the original. So the original is the 2018 and the new is the 2014. This is so backwards. They're definitely messing with us here. If the number of zebras in this population in 2014 is p% of the number of zebras in the population in 2018. Okay, so 2018 is 127. We're solving for p. It's a different p, but we'll deal with that later, equals 100. So we divide by 127. So 100 divided by 127 is 0.8 7874. But they want this as a percentage. So that would be 78.74%, and nearest whole number would be 79%. They think people are going to put 127 or 27 here. That's a trap. So I think it's 79%. Let's just read this. What is the value of P? 79. Okay. Number of zebras in 2018 was 1.27 times the number of zebras in 2014. We said there's 100 zebras in 2014, so 1.27 times that is 127. Easy, check. Now we can check our answer. 2014 is 79% of the number of zebras in 2018. So just write that sentence with the numbers. Right? So 2014 is 79% of 2018. So 100 is 79% of 127. That feels right. So 79% of 127 is about 100. Oof. See, percentages on the test, anywhere they are, you got to watch out. They're going to mess with you. That's a sneaky question. A lot of people are going to get that wrong. All right, circle A is defined by the equation x plus 2 squared plus y squared equals 9. Circle B not shown is the result of shifting circle A down 6 units and increasing the radius so that the radius of circle B is 2 times the radius of circle A. Why are they doing this? It's so weird. Okay. All right, a couple ways we could do this. We could just graph it. Let's just do it. Just graph it. All right. Start with this version of it. Okay, so we got x plus 2 squared plus y squared equals 9. Looks good. Looks the same. Okay. Now I think, let's just see if we can take a guess. I think we're going to have to, it looks like we're multiplying the radius by 4. That seems good. And then we're shifting it down 6. I think it's going to be choice A. So x plus 2 squared plus y plus 6 squared equals, we'll do it the way they did, 4 times 9. Okay, so what did it need to do? Shifting, let's write it over here. 22, shifting down 6, and r times 2. Yes. Okay, how does that look? All right, so the radius here is 3. The radius here is half of 12, which is 6. So it went from 3 to 6. Check. Did the center go down 6? Okay, the center is here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That looks like the center. Check. All right, I'm good. It's not going to be this. There's not going to multiply that. And if you divided, yeah, it wouldn't make any sense. Okay, 13 minutes. So one thing I'll say that I noticed in myself as I was doing the section is I sound bored. I do not sound my normal animated self. That's because my brain is drained from the hard reading module, so that's okay. Let your brain recuperate a little bit. But if you're good at math, this should be a breeze. I took it slow, and I still have 12 minutes left. So it should feel very methodical. I'm going to go back to a few of them, and then I'm going to probably end the section early, but let's just make sure. Yeah, this one, let's just do the algebra quick. This isn't so bad. So x squared plus 11 squared plus x minus 5 times x plus 5. Notice what I do when I write on my scratch. I double check. I'm constantly, you can see my eyes moving between the two. I'm making sure I wrote it right. And I am, I'm not just doing the first step. I'm writing what I have. Now I'm going to do the first step. So x squared plus 11 squared means I got to FOIL that. So let's do that. That's x to the fourth plus 11x squared plus 11x squared plus 121. Now let's do this. This is going to be plus x squared plus 5x minus 5x minus 25. So this goes, this goes. We have x to the fourth. So 11, 22, 23. 23x squared minus 25. Oh, plus 121. Which is, yeah, minus or plus 96. Check. Good. I could also have arithmetized here. If I put in 0, we get 11 squared plus negative 5 times 5, which is 121 minus 25, which is 96. And only choice B. I should have just arithmetized. This was so dumb, putting this in the calculator. Yeah, arithmetize should have worked. Foolish for not seeing that. Okay. 15. Why did I want to come back to this? Oh, because it just seems off, right? The length of the edge of the base of a right square prism is 6. The edge, they're not talking about the diagonal, they're talking about the edge, is 6. And it's a square, so that's 6 twice. Right? Because the only other thing the height could be is, I guess it could also be 6, but that's not an option. The volume of the prism is 2880, right? So we got 2880 equals 6 times 6 times the height. And I said it was 80. It's 80. Just, I don't know, this is scaring me. Yeah, we can do some Desmos here. Well, why don't we just test out what I thought, right? So we said that A would be around 123, 125, something like that, right? So we could also do it like this. Let's use the table. So let's add a table. Let's do the regression. Okay. So we got 0, what did I say, 125? We got, I don't know, 105. Let's throw another point in. It looks like we got 550. That looks like an easy point. 550, yep. And maybe 10, 20. That should be enough. Now we go here and we do y1 regression, and they said a b to the x. Yeah, so why does this happen? A b to the x1. Okay, so it is telling me that a is 125, which I thought, and b is 0.83. 0.83. Seems good. Just look at these one more time. This is basic cosine, adjacent or hypotenuse. Positive solution, 5 would make that 0. That works. I could have messed up here, but I don't think so. 24, 0, so 24, t minus 24. Yeah, so 24. And x plus 14, so 0 plus 14. 24 minus 0, 336. 14 times 24, 336. I'm sure I did that right. I already checked that. Yeah, all right. Normally, take your break or go back to the really easy ones and check those. I mean, it's definitely possible I misread something somewhere and made a careless mistake, but I just want to get to the hard module and not waste your time. So if I did make a careless mistake, we will find out about it at the very, very end. So I'm going to hit the button in a sec and go to module 2. All right, so as soon as you hit that button to go to the next section, it's going to go in. So you get no break. So just be ready with that on the real test, I assume, too. So there we go. Module 1, over early. Fork has been saved. And here we go. All right, time might be tricky here, so let's just get right into it. A manager is responsible for ordering supplies for a shaved ice shop. The shop's inventory starts with 4,500 paper cups, and the manager estimates that 70 of these paper cups are used each day. Based on this estimate, how many days will the supply of paper cups reach 1,700? So you can do a line here, but you could also just be like, okay, we have 4,500. We're subtracting 17. Right, so 4,500 minus 1,700 is 2,800. So that's the number of cups used. So 70 cups per day. So let's divide that by 70. Should that just be 40? 40. Oh, I could have just guessed and checked. I don't know why my brain isn't there, but that's okay. Cool. In triangle RST, the measure of R is 63 degrees, which the following could be the measure of degrees of angle S. So it's 180 degrees in a triangle total, so that doesn't work. And if I did triangle RST, the measure of angle R is 63, which the following could be the measure in degrees of angle S. So 180 minus 63 is 117. Oh, I see. I don't know why I thought that wasn't going to work. So there's 117 degrees left, so you can't do this and you can't do this. It's got to be that. Cool. For which of the following tables, then there is solutions. Okay, so let's just plug points into equations. So 4 times 2 is 8. 8 plus 8 is 16. 16 is less than 19, so that works. 4 times 4 is 16. 16 plus 8 is 24. Yeah. 24 is less than 30. Yeah, okay. 4 times 6 is 24. 24 plus 8 is 32. 32 is less than 41. Yeah. Okay, let's try to disprove these other ones, though. 2 times 4 is 8. 8 plus 8 is 16. That is not less than 8. So that doesn't work. 2 times 4 is 8. 8 plus 8 is 16. 16 is not less than 13. And same thing here. So, okay. This is just annoying. It's hard to fit on the screen. The function f is defined by that. For what value of x does f of x equal 5? I think we can just use Desmos here. I don't want to deal with those fractions. So f of x equals 9/7 x plus 8/7, and f of x equals 5. So 3, right? Because I want the value of x. Did I copy them in right? Yes. 3. Okay. During a portion of a flight, a small airplane's cruising speed varied between 150 and 170, which inequality represents the situation where s is the cruising speed during the portion of the flight. As analytic as this. Vary between 150 miles per hour and 170 miles per hour, which inequality best represents the situation where s is the cruising speed. Yeah, it's between those two. It's like literally just how inequalities work. Okay. The graph models the number of active projects the company was working on X months after the end of November 2012, where 0, okay. According to the model, what is the predicted number of active projects the company was working on at the end of November 2012? So 0 months after that would be 5. Just find the y-intercept. Just a confusing way of asking for that, right? So this is the starting point. Yes. Yes. Okay, which defines this? Okay, so this is just plug points into equations, but they put the points as function notation. How do I want to do this? Let's just test them. I probably do this in my normal calculator, but whatever. So negative 2/7 times 28 plus 23 is 15, so that works. Negative 2/7 times 28 plus 23, this is choice A. What if I did 26? Nope. Okay, so negative 2/7 times 26 plus 113. I don't think that's going to work. Nope. So let's start over. Now we got negative 7/2 times 28 plus 23 is negative 75. Nope. Negative 7 halves, okay, plus 113 is 15. And then 26, 22. Perfect. I could come back to that, maybe make sure some other way, but no big deal. The table shows the linear relationship between these things. C cars on a commuter train, the X number of passengers, and crew P that the train can carry, which equation represents the linear relationship. This is just plug points into equations, right? So this is C, this is P. That's kind of obvious. So 55, let's just use the calculator again. So 55 times 3 minus 174 is negative 9, so that works. 55, so B is wrong then. 55, well, let's just try it for all of them. Oh no, that's kind of annoying. Let's do choice. Let's just do the same thing for all of them. So 55 times, these are all annoying. So choice C is 55 times 174 minus 3, way off. And I think the same thing is going to happen with D. 55 times that, yeah, it's the same problem. So it's got to be that. Again, I can come back and check that, but that seems good. Which of the following is a solution? Plug points into equations. Okay. Let's just graph it. So x squared plus 12x minus 40 equals 0. So now let's just compare that to all the choices, right? So, oh God, I'm getting so annoyed at Desmos. Okay, 6 minus 2 square root 19, or we should do x equals. Nope, different line. So x equals, that gets rid of a. X equals 2 root 19, different line. Root 19, different line. So negative 6 plus, oh, 2. There it is. Okay, there it is. Right? Yeah, those clearly overlap. Good. Next. What is the y-coordinate of the y-intercept of that graph in the xy plane? Just put it in the xy plane. Okay. All right. 3x divided by 7 equals negative 5y divided by 9 plus 21. Let's see, 3x over 7 equals negative 5y over 9 plus 21. Where's that line? 37.8. 37.8. We can check that real fast by doing, let's just check that now while it's on our mind. 10, so it'd be 0 is x. They want the y-coordinate, yep, so 37.8. So that's 3 times 0 over 7, which is just 0, equals negative 5 times 37.8 divided by 9 plus 21. So 37.8 times negative 5 is negative 189 divided by 9 is negative 21 plus 21. Yeah, works out. Good. Might as well check it while it's on my mind. The system of equation. Okay. So, let's test the x-intercept here. That feels like a smart move. Okay. Let's just, it's going to work in both because it's the point of intersection. So 11, this is better. Desmos is just bothering me. So we're going to keep trying the point 8, 0. So in A, we'd have 64 plus 0 equals 32. No, it doesn't. Okay. Choice B. 64 minus 0 equals 32. No, it doesn't. C. 4 times 8 is 32 minus 0 equals 32. That checks out. And let's leave some space. D, 32 plus 0 equals 32. That checks out. Let's try the other point. So negative 8 times 8 is negative 64 plus 0 equals negative 64. That works. And this would be negative 64 minus 0 equals, okay, so I need another point. Honestly, at this point, I would use Desmos. Let's just see if these lines match. So 4x minus 10y equals 32. Wrong direction. So 4x plus 10y equals 32. Seems like the right direction. So good enough. We could do more work, but for now, that seems good. Okay. Solution to the given equation is xy. What is the value of 6 times x minus 2? Okay. X minus 2 minus 4 times x plus 7. X plus 7 equals 117. And weird. Okay. X minus 2 plus 4 y plus 7 equals 442. Did I do this right? Oh, here. See, you gotta watch. Yep, this is a y plus 7. So what is the value of 6 times x minus 2? Okay, so x is 281.5. So 6, right? So 681.5. Is that what it said? Oh, 281. Oh my gosh. 281.5. 281.5. So 6 x minus 2. So 6 times 281.5 minus 2. 6 times 281.5 minus 2. 1677. Again, I come back in these and check these, but I don't think we're going to have time to do it. Let's just keep moving. What is the minimum value of the given function? Y equals x squared minus 48x plus 2304. I know why they're giving me this, because they don't, they want it to just do this where I can't find it. But if you just scroll, you can find it. What is the minimum value? It is 1728. And again, I can prove that later with the vertex, but why bother? I don't know. Seems fine. Did I enter it right? Let me just make sure that I typed it right. Negative 48x plus 24. Yeah, seems fine. Okay, how many solutions? So this is a good example of, like, it also doesn't take long to do this. So I would do it as y equals negative 49x and y equals negative 98x. They have different slopes. So what's going to happen is these two things are going to cross. But I see, okay, I see what they're doing, right? They want it to be really hard to see. Then they do cross at 0, 0. So they have exactly one solution because they're two lines with different slopes. So there you go. But you could put it in Desmos. This function is defined that way. The value of g of 7 minus w is 0, where w is a constant. What is the sum of all possible values of w? Ooh, all right. This feels like our first really hard question. So let's see. Let's see what's up. So plug points in equation. So g of 7 minus w equals 0. So we have an x and we have a y. So 0 is equal to 7 minus w times 7 minus w minus 2 times 7 minus w plus 6 squared. So 0 is equal to 7 minus w times 7 minus 2 is 5 minus w. 7 plus 6 is 13 minus w squared. So what's going to make these things zeros? What is the sum of all possibilities of w? So w could be 7, w could be 5, w could be 13. So 12, 5, and 7 and 13. 5 plus 7 plus 13 is 25. Okay. I think there's other ways to do that. I'd come back to that one, but it feels right. Plug points in equations. Did I do any weird things with that. 7 minus 2 seems okay. 7 minus 2, or 7 plus 6, 13. Yeah, okay. A grove has 6 rows of birch trees and 5 rows of maple trees. Each row of birch trees has 8 trees 20 feet or taller and 6 trees shorter than 20 feet. Each row of maple trees has 9 trees 20 feet or taller and 7 trees shorter than 20 feet. A tree from one of these rows will be selected at random. What is the problem of selecting a maple tree given the tree? Oh my God, that's insane. Okay, so this is, I'm going to make a chart here. So it has 6 rows of birch trees and 5 rows of maple trees. So 6 birch, 5 maple. Each row of birch trees has 8 trees 20 feet or taller. Okay, so 20 plus and 20 minus. So 8 trees, each row of birch trees has 8 trees 20 feet or taller and 6 trees shorter than 20 feet. Each row of maple trees has 9 trees 20 feet or taller and 7 trees shorter than 20 feet. Oh gosh, okay. A tree from each one of these rows will be selected at random. What is the probability of selecting a maple tree given that the tree is 20 feet or taller? So they're selecting a total of 11 things. So 11 rows, right? So that's here. What is the probability of selecting a maple tree given that the tree is 20 feet or taller? So in all these rows, so 8 times 6 and 9 times 5, so that's 48 total big birches and 45 total big maples. So what is the probability of selecting a maple tree given that the tree is 20 feet or taller? So given that is that's our real denominator. So our real denominator is 48 plus 45. What is the probability of selecting a maple tree? So that's 45, I think. Oh my God. So 45 divided by, well, 48 plus 45 first is 93. Okay. Am I even at an answer here? So 93 divided by 3 is 31. So 15 out of 31. Ooh, definitely come back to that. I think I got it, but oh man, that's intense. A rectangle is inscribed in a circle. Okay. So 17. A rectangle is inscribed in a circle such that each vertex of the rectangle lies on the circumference of the circle. So circle. I hate drawing with these little pads. Circle, rectangle. Ugh. Okay, good enough. The diagonal of the rectangle is twice the length of the shortest side of the rectangle. So the diagonal of the rectangle, let's say, is 2x, and then this would be x. Is twice the length of the shortest side of the rectangle. The area of the rectangle, so 0.89 root 3 equals length times width. What is the length of the diameter of the circle? So that's this. So this is a good example of there's only a limited number of options for your geometry. So it's a triangle. We made a triangle. So is it one of these? Yeah, 2x and x. So this has got to be your x root 3 side. So the length and the width, so 1089 root 3 is equal to x times x root 3. So x squared root 3. So the root 3's go. So what is the square root of 1089? So 1089, 33. So what is the length of the diameter? So that should be 66. Full way across. Again, I'd come back. There's a lot of moving parts there, but seems right. The positive number A is, okay, goodness, okay. All right. The positive number A is 2,241% of the sum of the positive numbers B and C, and B is 83% of C. What percent of B is A? Okay. C is 100. B is 83% of 100, which is 83. A is 2,241% of the sum of those positive numbers. So that's, this is open formula. So open formula. So A is here is 2.41, right? Am I doing that right? Because I have to move the decimal place 2 spots. So 100% becomes 1, 1,000% becomes 10. So 22, okay, that's the percentage. And the sum of those is 183. Okay, so A is 183 times 22.41, which is 4101.03. What percent of B is A? So another open formula. So what percent of B is A? So B is my original. My percent is what I'm solving for. So A is what percent of B? Okay, that makes sense. So 83 is B. P is what we're solving for. A is 4101.03. So just divide and we get P is equal to 49.41, which is 4941%. D. Woo! Another one I check, but it's gonna get, I'm already feeling short on time here. In the given system of equations, P is a constant. If the system has no solution, what is the value of P? Okay, this is just get some lines here. Is there a nice way to do this, or I just gotta muscle this through? Yeah, okay. There might be some Desmos here I can do, but let's just do it the old-fashioned way. So 7/8 y minus 5/8 x equals 4/7 minus 7/8 y. Okay, so let's bring that over. So that's 14/8 y equals 5/8 x plus 4/7. So we multiply by 8 over 14, multiply by 8 over 14, that cancels. So you get y is 5/14 x plus some extra stuff I don't care about. Okay, cool. So I'm interested in that slope. So now we do the other one. So 5/4 x plus 7/4 equals py plus 15/4. So I don't care about this, I don't care about this, so I'm dividing by p. So this is my slope. So 5 over 14 is equal to 5 over 4p. So 14 is 4p. So p is 7/2. I could easily check this with Desmos, but for the sake of time, we'll come back. Table shows 3 values of x and their corresponding values of g of x, where g of x equals f of x over x plus 3, and f is a linear function. What is the y-intercept of the graph of y equals f of x and the xy plane? Okay. Table shows 3 values of x and their corresponding values of g of x, okay, where that is the case, and f is a linear function. What is the y-intercept of the graph of y equals f of x in the xy plane? Okay. Is this just plug points into equations? So let's use 0 equals f of -9 over -9 plus 3, right? So 0 equals f of -9 over -6. So if I just multiply it, I would get f of -9 is 0. Okay. What is the y-intercept of the graph of y equals f of x? Okay. I don't know what's happening. Let's try another point. 5 is equal to f of 21 over 21 plus 3. So 5 is equal to f of 21 over 24. So 5 times 24 is 120. So f of 21 is 120. So that's enough to build the line, right? Because I can get a slope. So change in y over change in x. So that's 120 minus 0 over 21 minus negative 9. So that's 120 over 30, which is 4. So that's my slope. And then plug points into equations. So y equals mx plus b. So 120 equals 4 times 21 plus b. So 120 equals 84. 84 plus b. So b is 120 minus 84, 36. All right, good enough for now. Keep moving. Circle has the center, and what's this guy? Okay, these both look like a pain in the neck. Okay, let's just do the circle. Circle center G and points M and N line the circle. Line segment M, H, and NH are tangent to the circle. Okay, so 21. So circle has center G, and M and N lie in the circle. So M and N, let's put it over here. Line segments MH and NH are tangent to the circle at points M and N respectively. So H is out here such that this is happening and this is happening. If the radius of the circle is 168 millimeters, 168, and the perimeter of the quadrilateral GMHN is 3856. What is the distance in millimeters between points G and H? Okay. Well, this is 90 degrees because these are tangent. So can I just make the others one? So that means what then? That if those are 90, do the others have to be 90 as well? Does it have to be a rectangle? Right? Because, well, 168 is in there twice, so let's subtract that out. So 3856 minus 168 is 3520. And what do they want? What is the distance between points G and H? So it's going to be a right triangle. So that 3520, these have to be the same distance, I think. So 3520 divided by 2 is 1760. So what do we just do? We created a right triangle with 168, right? That's the radius of the circle, and 1760. And we're trying to find this, G and H. Okay, so it's Pythagorean theorem. 168 squared plus 1760 squared equals c squared. 168 squared is 28224 plus 1760 squared is 3097600. So add those, plus 28224 is 3125824 is c squared. Take the square root of that answer. 1768. Is that an answer? Good enough. The function f is defined by this, where a, b, and c are constants. The graph of y equals f of x in the xy plane passes through those points. If a is an integer greater than 1, which the following could be the value of a plus b. Okay. So 22. So we have a 70 is out here. 70. And negative 30 would be like here. And if a is an integer greater than 1, that tells me that it opens this way. 5 minutes. If a is an integer, which the following could be the value of a plus b. So c has to be negative, I guess. What am I supposed to do with this? I can find the vertex, right? The vertex is halfway between. So this is a distance of 7, this is a distance of 3, so halfway would be a distance of 5. So that's 2 something. So that's maybe another point. And the vertex is negative b over 2a, gives you the x-coordinate of the vertex. So 2 is equal to negative b over 2a. So 4a is negative b. So a plus b. So negative 4a is equal to b. So substitute. So a minus 4a is negative 3a. So a has to be greater than 1. So it can't be negative, right? Because, do I have any reason for that? Wait a minute. A is greater than 1. So it can be positive. It can't be 0. Wait, and it has to be greater than 1. Okay. Right? Because if a were negative, which following could be the value of a plus b, which is negative 3a. So if negative 6 equaled negative 3a, then a would be 2, which checks off the rules. But if negative 3 were negative 3a, then a would be 1, but a has to be an integer greater than 1. So that doesn't work. And then if I did either of those other answers, 4c is 4 is equal to negative 3a. So a would be negative 4/3. So that's negative. So yeah, it's got to be that. Oh boy. Okay, where do I want to go? I don't feel great about that. Let's see if I can check that real quick with with Desmos. So the value of a plus b would have to be negative 6. So if negative 6, that would mean a is 2. So we would get y equals 2x squared. We said b would then be equal to negative 4 times a. So negative 4 times 2 is negative 8. So that's minus 8x. And then, I don't know what c is. So this doesn't really do me much good. But I can make a table. Oh boy, this is such a mess, where we have 7, 0 and negative 3, 0. And then I can do y1 2x squared minus 8. Ooh, I got to do x1. 8x1 plus c. So that's negative 42. Does that follow my rules? It seems to go through the right points. A is an integer greater than 1. Check. So a plus b, 2 minus 8 is negative 6. Okay, that seems to work. Where did I want to go back to? I don't know. Anything good? I got this. Let's see if I can. F of x equals, are we going to finish? Oh, it's going to be tight to check this. I got f of x is equal to 4x plus 36. And then g of x is equal to f of x divided by x plus 3. So do we have a way of doing g of negative 27 is 3, that checks out. G of negative 9 is 0, that checks out. G of 21 is 5, that checks out. Time's up. I feel good about the math, but yeah, I don't know. The reading, that's going to be the challenge. So let's stop here. Let me let this thing score, and we'll go from there. But there's still some tough math in there. Still some tough math that really, you got to know what's on the test. That circle question. If you know that weird triangles are on the test, that circle question, where was the other circle question? This one, if you know that weird triangles are on the test, it's just, you see a triangle, you're going to use triangle rules. That's all it is. So anyway, let's see if I even got it right before I talk a big game. Well, here you go. I struggled with that reading, but I still managed to pull out a 790, okay? And I'll explain how I did it, but you can see already 2 wrong in the hard reading module, okay? 2 wrong. Or at least 2 wrong overall in reading. It's unclear from this where they are, but I'll show you the other thing in a second. But none wrong in math. I felt good about that. But yeah, 2 wrong. Oh, it's right here. 2 wrong in the reading module. So yeah, where did it come from? Well, it's exactly where I thought. So this stupid way that they present this information, you've got your first module here. So all correct. And then this is the hard module. They don't tell you that in this score report, but you can obviously tell based on, just comparing your test to mine and all those things. But also the difficulty should be noticeably different. The ones I guessed on were 11, 12, and 13. So 11 and 13 were total random guesses. And then 12 was one that I originally put B, but within like 20 seconds left, I kind of crossed out B and was down to C and D. And I just kind of had to pick C, mostly on a feeling. So I did get 1 right with a random guess, but there you go, right? If I had to guess on 3, then yeah, it makes sense that one of them would be right kind of statistically from that. So it's something to go on. But these were hard questions. You can see this is my work for number 12 here, it's just a mess of all these different things. So let's see if I can figure them out without having to, I'll look at the answers. Obviously, there's nothing much I can do here. But this one was insane because all these choices were true, so I didn't understand what was going on. So let me look at it again. I'm going to try not to look at that explanation. Oh, here. There we go. Okay. This person studied a forest site in which some sugar maple trees receive periodic fertilization with nitrogen to mimic the broader trend of increasing. Okay, so they're getting the nitrogen to mimic this nitrogen deposition. The radial growth of the trees with and without nitrogen fertilization under 3 different climate scenarios. Okay, so so radial growth centimeters per year, is growth good, I guess? Although they found that climate change would negatively affect growth, so more change means less growth, okay, they concluded that anthropogenic nitrogen depositions could more than offset that effect, provided that change is moderate rather than extreme. So I still do not get this. So nitrogen offsets it. So they found that climate change would negatively affect growth. They conclude that an anthropogenic nitrogen deposition could more than offset that effect. I just don't see how. Because isn't with nitrogen here under moderate change, and that's not offsetting anything, right? It's not getting us back to the same number we were at. It's certainly not more than offsetting it, right? So growth is good. Although they found that climate change would negatively affect growth, true, they concluded that nitrogen deposition could more than offset that effect, provided that change is moderate. Okay, growth with nitrogen under current climate exceeded growth with nitrogen under moderate change, but the latter, yeah, okay, I guess that's oh, okay, wait. I think I get it finally. Yes, okay. We have to compare this black bar, which is just like the current normal tree situation, right? They're not getting any extra nitrogen. They're just living normal tree lives. Okay. But if we have moderate climate change, then there's going to be a slight decrease in the growth of the tree. So it is hurt by moderate climate change. But if we put some nitrogen next to the tree, then it does grow. And in fact, it grows more than it would have had there been no nitrogen and normal climate change. Okay, growth with nitrogen under current climate change. Okay, so we want this black bar to this gray bar. That's what we want. So current growth without nitrogen under the current climate exceeded growth without nitrogen under moderate change, but the latter exceeded no, I don't think it's it. Growth with nitrogen under moderate change exceeded growth without nitrogen under moderate change. No. Growth with nitrogen under moderate change. Growth with nitrogen under moderate change exceeded growth without nitrogen under the current climate. Yep. But the latter exceeded growth with nitrogen under extreme change. Was it D? I already forgot. Yeah, correct answer is D. Oh, this is very hard. This is very, very hard, this question. I get it now, but like this is a good example of like it takes time and all these choices sound identical. So that's very difficult. Wow. Okay. So that was number 11. Let's look at number 12. This is the other one. This is this guy right here. So here I gotten rid of A and B because of some word. So water molecules are found to be impervious. That's just too strong of a word. That means that they can't be touched. So that's crazy. Examination of TMO's molecular structures so the TMO molecules retain their shape even as pressure increases. I don't know what they're talking about the shape. I don't see shape here at all. Maybe the bonds. I don't know. So a positive correlation is found between concentrations of TMAO and the rate at which water's molecular structure compresses as pressure increases. Analysis of water's molecular structure under high pressure reveals that hydrogen bonds are more stable. So there's something about the bonds. So right, increased pressure hurts the bonds. But then if there's increased pressure with TMAO, maybe the bonds are better. Maybe that's kind of what it's going on here. Yeah. In their muscles, which is reduces water's compressibility. So destabilizes these bonds. So if TMAO reduces the compressibility, right, and compresses the water structure, so you reduce the compressibility, you probably don't destabilize the bonds as much, so the analysis of structure, hydrogen bonds are more stable. Yeah, I could have gotten that. I think I got a little overwhelmed by the time pressure. I think that I made the right choice as to what questions to go back to. I think this was the right one with 30 seconds to go back to. I think I just needed another 30 to really bring this home. But I think I had the right idea. Maybe I wasted too much time documenting every single thing at first. This was just an overwhelming question. And then 13 I got right, but I don't think I even read this one. I think I just looked at it and was like, no way. Let me see if this is one that would have been hard. It describes something that supports the colleague's conclusion. Okay. Some climate models for the Western United States predict that while total annual precipitation may remain unchanged from the present level, precipitation will become concentrated into fewer but more intense rain and snow events. University of Texas climate scientist Jita Prasad and her colleagues simulated how the amount of water entering aquifers and the amount being used for irrigation purposes would change if this were to occur. Prasad and her colleagues concluded that concentration of precipitation to fewer events would result in a higher number of dry days, triggering more irrigation, but that this change in irrigation output is highly sensitive to the baseline concentration of precipitation that currently exists in the area. So, okay. So, here, I need to write this. I'm going to write it in red because I don't want to confuse the work I did at the time with the work I've got now. So concentration of, so fewer P events means higher number of dry days, more dry, triggering more irrigation. But this change in irrigation output is highly sensitive to the baseline concentration of precipitation that currently exists in the area. What does that even mean? Is okay. That just means that these numbers are very different. Okay. If baseline precipitation is somewhat concentrated, the amount of water being used for irrigation, so somewhat concentrated, the amount of water being used for irrigation will increase 0.4% for surface water and 0.9% for groundwater, whereas the amount of water entering aquifers will increase 11% if baseline. Okay. But see, those are not comparing the same columns. We're in different columns. So that's wrong. If baseline precipitation is somewhat concentrated, the water used for irrigation will increase only slightly, true, whereas it will increase 9% for surface water and 7.9% for groundwater if baseline precipitation is ease and, okay. Yeah. Okay, so the reason that's right is basically we're just in the same column and we're comparing two numbers from the same column. So that's her main point. This change in irrigation output is highly sensitive to the baseline concentration. So they're just saying this row and this row have very different numbers, and which choice basically says that. So a lot of you are, this is a good place to make a big point. A lot of you are very afraid of these graph chart questions. But notice that at the end of the day, this isn't really about what the thing is saying. It's much more about just like, what is the conclusion that is in the passage telling you to look at, right? Like it's telling you to compare the two rows. So now we just need a choice that compares the two rows, and the numbers are almost incidental to that. Like, I don't know, maybe C and D have numbers that are wrong, but I think I could have gotten this with more time as well. So that's the thing. All of this, I think I could have gotten with more time. The reading and writing is not subjective. Every choice, every answer is provable with lines from the passage and knowledge of vocabulary and logic and all those things. But if you don't have certain vocabulary words, you might be stumped on a question, but also certain things take more time and you have to just move really, really fast on this test. And so if I'm an expert, I've been doing this for 20 years almost, taking SATs, and I'm still running out of time on these hard reading sections, that should say something. You are not expected to finish this either. But with 3 guesses, 1 of them right, 2 of them wrong, I still got a 790. And that's the key, is no college is going to care that you got a 790 instead of an 800. Or more accurately, if you maybe had to guess on 4 or 5 questions on this test, you probably would end up with like a 750, which is still really, really good. And so the key is, can you maximize how many questions you can answer within that time limit? That's why you saw me go straight from the vocab to the grammar, the transitions, and the outlines. I know I can get all of those questions right. I'm confident in every grammar rule. The transition, sometimes you get a weird one, but for the most part, they're kind of straightforward, and those outlines are really just about reading the question. We did see that one weird outline question, but honestly, it wasn't that weird in the grand scheme of things. I'd rather do that one weird outline than pretty much any of the passage questions. And then within those passages, there were a few that were very, very easy. So that it's not like math, where the groups of questions are organized by difficulty. So you've got to just be flexible and jump around. And remember that your task here is just to answer as many questions correctly as possible. So you have to find the questions that you're going to have the best shot at. So as you practice, try to take note of which types of questions you have trouble with, especially those passages. There are different types. The ones that are underlined, the main idea ones, I find those to be easier. So if you do too, then you would want to target those first. The logically complete ones also can be pretty easy once you get the hang of them. So even those are last, I might have maybe jumped to those and started doing those instead. But I am very proud of that math score. That was a tough math section. I had a little bit extra time to check things over, but I think the main reason I did is that for every single question, I defaulted to the calculator. I defaulted to plugging points into equations. And when things got weird, I wasn't afraid of it. Like the geometry especially really always is going to come down to circles, triangles, and rectangles. So you just got to draw the picture and look for circles, triangles, and rectangles, and just put things in the picture. You never know where it's going to end up. And the reference chart is also there as kind of like a menu for geometry. If it's not in the reference chart, it's not really going to be tested. So you can kind of use that as like, okay, what do I see? If I see a triangle, look at the reference chart and look at those triangle rules, and hopefully something hits. When you do this question, please let me know in the comments what your scoring was based on the number of wrong answers. I'm really curious how sensitive this thing is. If you got more wrong than me, what did it do to your score? Did it really hurt it? Did it kind of still stay good? Did it match your expectations? Like as you were taking the practice test, did you think you would get a lower score than you actually did? Or do you think you get a higher score than you actually did? So I'm very curious about how you guys perceive the scoring as you're taking the test, and then when it actually comes out, how the number of wrong answers affects that. Keep in mind too that on the real SAT, in each module, there will be 2 questions that don't count towards your score. Now, you don't know which 2 questions it is, and even in here, there are 2 questions that don't count for your score. I'll be able to track them down eventually, but it's difficult. And so basically what that means is you don't want to get hung up on a question that doesn't matter. So it could even be the case, I don't know, that either 11 or 12 is one of the ones that wouldn't have counted it. And so maybe I got it wrong and it didn't really hurt me. Whereas if I had gotten, like, let's say number 10 and number 11 wrong, now I would have gotten a 780 instead of a 790. So I really don't know. But we will get more information as you guys take the test and we get some variation. But please let me know what you thought of this experience with this practice test. And yeah. Any other specific questions, just hang tight. I will come up with a individual video for each and every single one of the questions on this test, including the easy module. So don't worry, you will get much more thorough explanations than ones I gave you as I was muttering to myself as I took the test. But hopefully this was a good experience for you. It was certainly a great experience for me to get a better sense of how these tests feel for you guys. So please, if you have any other questions or thoughts or comments or feedback, put it in the comments, subscribe so that I can get some follows, and like the video if it helped. Once again, I'm Mike Settele, founder of Settele Tutoring. Thank you so much for watching. And remember, when it comes to your scores, don't settle for less, Settele for more.